Take two. Are you wearing too many hats? Clearly I am. TMS, CRM, and now AI. What's going to help you keep your business lean while increasing revenue? To save valuable time in business development, David Ray Jr. and Ben Okuka want to help you boost your business. So they're here tonight. Please say hello in the live chat, make new friends, and learn from the best on ATI Auto Business. Hey, what's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business Automotive Ecosystem, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Let's get started with some top industry news and headlines that include what the Crowdstrike happened, Trump Chinese EV US proposal, and repo wholesale retail update. Please do say hello in the live chat. Hello, YouTube. Hello, LinkedIn. You can grab that YouTube link and you can tell your friends and let them know. David Ray Jr. is the feature interview tonight. He is an awesome dude, and it's show 356 in a row on a Tuesday. It is the automotive ecosystem. Now, you may have seen David before. He is a logistics tech consultant and more. If you see him at a trade show, stop him and talk to him. There's David. Say, hey, David, what's going on? I want to talk to you. Ben Okuka is also here. Ben is really cool. Ben knows about product management. He's going to tell us more about Startwell Partners. We're talking about technology, entrepreneurship. It may not be a secret. And depending on where you get your social media, you're seeing a lot of people changing companies, changing roles, maybe finding themselves reinventing and starting a new business. So we're going to continue the conversation that we had last Tuesday night. Me and Mark were talking about auto logistics marketplace. Where are we going? And that is when we learned Mark had an interesting take on load board versus available list. I made a YouTube short out of that. Thank you, Mark, for that concept. And we're going to continue talking about beyond the load board, BOL, GPS, payment solutions, driver app, AI buzzwords based on different size businesses. So I say know your ecosystem. OEM, dealer, auction, logistics, remarketing, recon, compliance, and tech. We move around the ecosystem week after week on ATI, on Automotive Ecosystem, on Tuesday nights. It starts at 7 p.m. Central. What is that? It's a workflow diagram. And by the way, this came in, I saw this on LinkedIn today. Shout out to Zach Asher. Talking about ROI, time management, auto transport brokers. Every minute counts. That's right. So on Industry Logistics last Thursday, we also talked about top 20 load boards. Did you know there are 20? There are now. We found them. Go ahead and get out your phone and take a picture. You already know number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you know number 15 and 16? It's pretty interesting stuff. We're going to keep talking about this on Thursdays. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump into some news. It's only 5 minutes after. Get pretty fired up when I have to do a take two. All right, here we go. What the Crowdstrike happened? Flights grounded and travelers stranded, including JFK LaGuardia, after tech outage cripples banks and other companies around the globe. If you're like me, you tuned in Friday into the internets and saw this. I didn't know what was going on. Okay. Grounded flights knocked banks offline, media outlets off the air. Across the world, the global crisis was triggered when U.S. cybersecurity company Crowdstrike deployed a faulty software update to computers running Microsoft Windows, crashing them, leaving the ominous blue screen of death worldwide. This will be the largest IT outage in history, Microsoft regional manager tweeted in the chaos. Basically what we were worried about with Y2K, except this time it actually happened. I mean, there were people worldwide. It was mainly airports, train stations, and other logistics hubs, but worldwide madness. You don't want to be in this. And you know, right? What's going on? Well, government, this came out of this is either Australia or England. Government holds emergency Cobra meeting after Microsoft outage sparks global chaos. Football tickets canceled, TV channels offline, Heathrow, Gatwick, Edinburgh. Oh my gosh, is crazy. Stores closed. Did we learn something? So what is Crowdstrike, the company linked to the global outage? Well, it's a global computer outage affecting airports, banks. We said that. Okay, a defect was found in a single content update of its Microsoft Windows operating system. So we're getting Crowdstrike and Windows. Bad. Deeply sorry for the inconvenience. Not caused by a security breach. We're all working with impacted customers. The engineers took action to address the problem, specific to Falcon, one of Crowdstrike's main software products, not impacting Mac or Linux. Falcon is designed to protect files saved in the cloud. Great. Hey, Ben. Thanks for joining us tonight. That's awesome. So Crowdstrike is known for its cybersecurity software. That detects and blocks hacking threats. Like other cybersecurity products, requires deep-level access. Oh my gosh. Wow. Actively working. A defect found in a single content update. Yeah. I probably wouldn't tell them at this moment. They will freak out. So then we found out Saturday that, oh no, they skipped checks. Wait a second. Security experts at Crowdstrike apparently did not undergo adequate quality checks before it deployed a routine update. Really? The latest version of Falcon sensor software was meant make Crowdstrike clients meant to make client systems more secure against hacking by updating its threats. But faulty code in the update files result in one of the most widespread faulty code. What it looks like is, sir, is that the vetting or the sandboxing that we do when we look at the code is slipped, sort of. All right. Well, I just brought this up because you know what's happening next. I meant my face is in the way. It's lawsuits. Okay. All right. Hey, Trump renews pledge to produce Chinese automakers to build cars in the U.S. Okay. Trump addressing the RNC signaled a potentially different approach from a Biden administration. I'm reporting this as news. Donald Trump has reiterated an openness for Chinese automakers to build cars in the U.S. as a way to boost the economy. That's definitely news. What? Right now, as we speak, large factories just are being built across the border in Mexico by China to make cars to sell in the U.S., Trump said. Wow. Those plants are going to be built in the U.S., and our people are going to man those plants, he said, adding that he would otherwise slap tariffs as high as 200%. And then he criticized UAW President Shawn Fain. The United Auto Workers ought to be ashamed for allowing this to happen, and the leader of the United Auto Workers should be fired immediately, and every single auto worker, union, non-union, should be voting for Donald Trump. And then he pledged to bring back car manufacturing and bring it back fast. Which, isn't it already? So we'll just keep going. What Supreme Court's overturning a Chevron deference means for auto industry regulation. All right, so what is the Chevron thing that we're hearing in the news? Let's give it a shot. The U.S. Supreme Court's 6-3 decision in June to overturn the 1984 Chevron deference doctrine dramatically cuts the authority of federal agencies. Deregulation. The Chevron deference doctrine had required courts to defer to federal agencies' expertise when interpreting ambiguous statutes. allegedly. The High Court's decision to overturn is widely expected to limit the power of agencies such as the EPA and encourage litigation against existing rulemaking. Definitely getting an applause from one half of the Senate chamber. A setback among automotive regulators. Okay. Auto repossessions surged 23% in the U.S. during first half of 2024 as Americans fall behind on payments. Provides a window into the average consumer's financial health, which is bad. It's low. It's not good. Vehicle seizure is typically triggered after 3 months of missed car payments. Only 3 months. The average interest payment for a new car is currently 7.3%. For a used car, it's 11.5%. That means monthly bills are now $739 for a new car, $549 used car average. In June, the percentage of subprime auto borrowers were at least 60 days late on their bills in June was 5.62%. Down just slightly. Oof. From a record in February. Oof. Wow. So yeah, that's... When was February? Yeah. Lane watch. Depreciation continues to accelerate. Okay, so repos are surging. More cars go into the auction, or will be. And if your dealership needs used inventory, now appears to be the prime time to find what you need at lower prices. Analysts reported on Tuesday that wholesale prices dropped another 0.74% last week. Doesn't sound like much. Nearly 3 times the average they reported from the same week in 2017 through 2019. Plus, Black Book said the auction conversion rate, here we go, softened to 58%, down from 61%. And to add to it, analysts mentioned their estimated used retail days turns tracker is still climbing and now roughly at 52 days. So less cars probably moving, more cars going to the auction from repo, and used car prices are falling so much they're driving down inflation. Changes are afoot. Used car prices have plummeted in the past year, reaching their lowest point since 2021. Price declines come after a prolonged supply crunch in the new vehicle market. See, I think the new vehicle market is doing pretty good as far as supply goes. So the China-Mexico thing won't be an easy sell, but it'll still sell. The rise in used car prices was one of the key reasons the overall inflation rate was so high. Now used vehicles are the #1 category driving down inflation in the economy. June CPI report shows used vehicle prices down 10% the last year. Used vehicle prices are down 10% in the past year? That's great news. The supply of new vehicles is up about 50%. There it is. The supply of new vehicles is up about 50% since July 2023, which has had a spillover on the effect of the used market. Yeah, new cars are doing pretty good. Certain segments of the used vehicle market have been steeper price declines in the past year. The average price of a 4 to 7-year-old SUV is down 21%. Average price of a 4 to 7-year-old truck down 17%. Average prices of a used EV down 14%. You're going to have to double that. There, I said it. And trucks are now hauling frac sand in Texas with no one inside the cab. Really, Jay? You had to say it? Kodiak announced a partnership with Atlas Energy Solutions to deploy driverless commercial vehicle technology in Texas oil fields. They've already completed their first driverless delivery of frac sand in the Permian Basin, for the geology students out there. 21-mile delivery transported Atlas's high-quality frac sand from an Atlas depot to a well site with no one inside the cab. Now, I'm with you. Not much room for error out there, but still, it's noteworthy. What's going on? Stan Deek is here. What's up, Stan? Thank you, Mark. Show 356 in a row on a Tuesday. So we got $100 million investment from Central Dispatch. Ship.Cars was in the news last week with real-time tracking features. Listen, 4 lean strategies for uncertain economic times. Here you go. Reduce lead time, right? Get to leads faster. Can't let leads go. You got to increase capacity without spending more money. Get everyone involved in solving problems. That means you and the family, and the kids and the whatnot. And implement a strategy deployment process. What does that mean? Sounds fancy. times are uncertain around the world, but wait and see is the worst possible strategy. Apply lean thinking to increase resilience and agility of your business. You know what I'm saying? I know. We've been doing that for months, Jay. Well, tonight we got David Ray Jr., logistics tech consultant. We're going to spend some time with him. This is going to be great. ATI is where everyone learns more about how the automotive industry works. It's the ecosystem's neutral zone. Listen, I don't touch the third rail. I grab it with both hands. Join me as we continue to talk about what is to be talked about. Leverage ATI on your business. We don't ship cars. We move information. So you can go to atiautobusiness.com, go to the contact us page, send me an email, get the podcast, know your ecosystem. Do me a favor, stick around. Right after this, we're going to be live with David Ray Jr. It's just 16 minutes after. We've got a great show ahead, so stick around. We'll be right back.
Are you completely stressed out from all the calls and the contracts and the verifications of loads where nobody ever answers the phone? Call Murphy Auto Dispatch Services today. Murphy Auto Dispatch Services has over 15 years in the transport industry. We are your office while you are on the road. We book, we verify, and we bill out your loads for you. We have an excellent accounting staff and an even better dispatch team. Give us a call today at 417-273-0021, or if you want to email me, it's murphyautotransport31@yahoo.com. Give us a call today.
Transport Auto Quoter is by far the leading auto quoting software on the market, and the only auto quoter with a pro version that comes preset with accurate pricing for anywhere in the U.S. So you don't have to worry about it. The best part is that no change with your current software is needed. Just plug TAQ in and start booking jobs. Carriers can easily plug TAQ into their current websites and start making money right away. I bet you're wondering how we do this instantly and accurately 24/7. Well, constant analytics is the key. Our PriceWatch team is constantly monitoring current market conditions, paying close attention to seasonal and quick-moving industry changes. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of time and data to maintain good pricing, time that most of us just don't have on a daily basis. So free yourself up. Using TAQ Pro is really a no-brainer. Save time and money, maximizing your leads and optimizing your online investments. You'll finally be able to sleep well at night knowing that TAQ is on the job selling for you 24/7. Never missing a potential job.
Don't lose any more sleep worrying about those important missing leads. Get Transport Auto Quote or quote the right price the first time, every time. Run your business with TAQ. Visit transportautoquoter.com and stop missing leads. All right, please do help me wish a very warm welcome to, drum roll please, it's David Ray Jr., shipping tech consultant, logistics, and more. David, can you see me and hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Right on. Awesome. David, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure, yeah, glad to be back, and as always, good to see you. David Ray, I'm a logistics consultant. Not really a good way to describe what I do. I guess it's a fancy way of saying I help transportation companies move things from A to B using process and technology improvements. A little bit about my background. I got my start in automotive back, 2017 or 18 when I was working at Vroom. I was working with the dispatchers, building out tech solutions for them. After that, I went on to build a driver app to help drivers make better decisions when evaluating whether a load was profitable. I've done some consulting for a few brokers in our space, and then now I'm currently working with a freight tech company that provides collaboration tools for fleets.
All right, so you're qualified.
Huh? I know a little bit, yeah.
Come on. That's awesome. Okay, great, because, all right, so we're going to expand to the automotive ecosystem at some point here, but we'll start with logistics. And I thought it was really interesting when I first found out that you had been at Vroom. I think we started talking right around that time. Let's just talk about Vroom for a second.
Sure.
What did Vroom do? Vroom doesn't exist, or how would you describe that? Yeah.
So during my tenure there, this was back 2017 through maybe 2020, 2021, Vroom was in the process of figuring out whether or not they wanted to buy their own fleet so that they could actually deliver and hit a lot of the, dates that you promise in your marketing material. But at the same time, we were also building out our carrier and broker network. So a lot of the technology and tools that we were using at the time were integration based. So integrating with most of the biggest players in our space. And from there, I just kind of started seeing a lot of the disconnect between what Vroom thought they were getting in terms of, service and having that ability to like stick the landing, as they would say. So if I give my car to a broker, is it going to get to the customer's uh, house on time? And the answer is kind of, right? We'll tell you we can get it there. And for the most, most of the companies we work with, I think they did a great job. But once I realized that on the other side of the brokers that we worked with were just kind of independent owner operators that we didn't control, it made me realize there was this fundamental problem that we were never going to be able to solve on our own. So a lot of the technology that we were building at the time was to, make that a little bit more seamless, partner with the brokers to help the transporters get those cars on time and make sure all of that information flows up to the customers. So nobody's just showing up at their house like, you know, a day early or, a couple hours like, oh, hey, I got your truck or I got your vehicle. It's over here. I'll meet you at Walmart. And the customer is like, wait a minute. I thought you were coming tomorrow. So that was generally the problem that I was trying to solve there.
And so what's interesting is that I think for many folks, for like used car buyers and sellers, Vroom was an online shopping site like a Carvana
Right.
or even a CarMax. And so it sounds like Vroom was trying to do many things and maybe grew pretty fast because, am I right? Texas Auto Direct got acquired by Vroom?
Correct. Correct. I forgot
Right.
which year that was. There were still a couple. There was a retail location in Houston, actually worked there for a
See,
couple
and
of months.
I know the name of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's in Houston out in Stafford, Texas, which is a
S-
small area in Houston. Yeah.
When I was a dispatcher, I had booked cars to get picked up at that location. That's how I
Yes.
first heard of Texas Auto Direct, and then how I heard of Vroom.
Yes, and
So,
actually one of the reconditioning facilities for Vroom was across the highway. So that's where I got
right.
my first taste of
I
the
believe I know.
chaos, yeah, of
Yeah.
dispatching and automotive. I tip my hat to everyone in that position because there were some late nights that I spent with our team, 10, 11 o'clock at night working with them, and it's a tough job.
Part of the picture this paints is so as businesses grow, I'm just going to say Acertus.
Mhm.
Acertus is a big company, provides many different services in orchestration. That's a lot to manage.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, from we had a few pilots and there were a couple of programs we worked with them on, and I think those went well. Um, I, if I remember correctly, they were offering, I believe they started offering some titling services around the time I was leaving Vroom to help automate and make that process easier, as well as final mile locations, actually, figuring out whether or not they want to have somebody drive. A single flatbed to the customer's house, which I thought was pretty cool.
So, many of the things we're talking about seem to be serviced by a large auto logistics company like Acertus,
Sure.
or some of these things are what Carvana does. This is fascinating. So I'm talking, I guess, broad business. All right, but let's go into some minutia of tech.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Um, let's do this. I'm going to bring up. I like that you sent me these images. Let's start with image one.
Yeah, is there a way you could bring the two together? And really, the main reason I sent this over for context,
I
last week I
know.
was listening to
Uh,
Mark and Jay speak, and a lot of the conversation was around what's the difference between a CRM and transportation management system. So to me,
I
I just thought this was an easy way to see like, okay, this is where the handoff from CRM to TMS occurs. And then depending on your business needs, if you're just going off the load boards and you can use, any app to figure out where to find work, and then you're only using the TMS or order management functionality in a lot of the applications you see. But if you're actually trying to build those relationships with customers, like if you're a broker and you want to, acquire auctions to work with, or dealerships, you want to know how well you're marketing your business, or you want to know how long it takes to acquire that customer, and then how can you provide better customer support for them, which is not included in here, but is also something that's notable. Um, and if you're a carrier, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like you want to build those relationships both with brokers and shippers to build your book of business. So maybe, as you grow, you can bypass some of the load boards because you have direct relationships. So just something that came to mind. I wanted to kind of jump through the YouTube, my screen last week and chime in, but the chat doesn't only allows me so many characters.
So, because this is, it's weird talking about CRM and TMS. It sounds kind of boring and like, I don't know, like inaccessible, but this stuff is crucial to building business, which is why I think at one point I threw my hands up and said, listen, you can haul cars and not do any of that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you kind of end up, I mean, if you just want to haul cars, that's one thing, you can kind of live your life hand to mouth where you're just going from load to load and not really putting yourself in a position to expand. So where marketing is important, it's to me, it's kind of like the difference of if you're reaching out, or does anyone even know about you is probably the best place to start, right? A lot of people think, going into
that is marketing 101. Does anybody even know about you? That was good, man.
Exactly. And I think, sometimes at least what I see on LinkedIn, it seems like, hey, going out and talking to a shipper or a dealer after you drop their car off, I think that's a great way because that's, face to face. But I think I was it back in January or February with Justin Liu with Truckpedia, and he offers a lot of these types of services in his app to help people, create email campaigns so that they're, can reach out to people at scale. So if in one day you're out at two dealerships, you talk to two people, that's great. But with social media and the power of the internet, it's infinitely scalable, right? So I definitely think it's something that people are leaving on the table. I just think there's a lack of awareness and a lack of available content and education in that space.
So here's what I'm going to do. I just put, throughout the show tonight, I'm going to put links in the live chat. And, take it or leave it. And, whether it's a company that you got to pay for or something, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's a link where you can, take a look and learn something, and it'll make you think. So I just put Truckpedia in the live chat. And if at any point there's any kind of link, it doesn't, there are no restrictions except for spam, right? No spam. But my point is that, and I was going to say, the thing about marketing is contagious. Marketing's another word. It sounds boring or whatever. And I don't need that. But as soon as you make a video, I see this, you see it on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Someone posts a video. Someone finally posts their face. And they show up 3 or 4 more times that week. Marketing is contagious. And I suddenly realize, oh, I'm here.
And I think it's great because a lot of these tools allow, the smaller operators and smaller companies to compete. I mean, if you're a creative person and you're coming up with valuable content, I think that's the easiest way to get your name out there. And obviously, where the CRM comes into place is you want to have a way to contact people, right? So it's not just putting your face out there and making a video. It's like, what can I offer that would make a broker want to give me their email address or phone number so I can reach out? Or what would make a shipper want to give me that same information so I can develop that relationship? And that's, I think, sometimes lost in the conversation. So, marketing is like getting your name out there, and then what's the exchange that makes someone want to even consider doing business with you?
Right, exactly. The next step. How do you get somebody to take action? AIDA. Attention. Do I have your attention? Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. Rent it. Live it. and I was going to say is that, within the logistics community, first posting your truck and your company name and maybe your route, contact information, great. Now, after you've done that, now why should somebody contact you? Right? Why you? Because right now see, I can't believe it. I still see. I keep saying it. I guess it doesn't seem to matter. Who cares, Jay? But I keep saying it, is that we're talking company after company that has been around for years, and their ads all look similar. How, as a shipper, how do I know who I need to call?
And that's tough because I think, if I was in the marketing department, I think that's a positioning and messaging issue, right? If you're just saying, hey, I have a truck, or hey, I'll be in the Southeast, like that's great. Maybe there's something else specifically that they could speak to. But that's where creativity comes in. How resourceful are you into figuring out what do your customers actually care about? And that's kind of the art and science of it, right? Like you can set up all these tools. There's no real silver bullet, in my opinion. That's all you could do this really with email and spreadsheets, just how you track it, right? But what are you saying that's drawing someone's attention in, and then how are you saying it so that they actually want to at least have a conversation so you can eventually offer your services?
You know what I like right now is, I'm going to bring it up. We are right now explaining, here we are. We're at the beginning of CRM. That wasn't even planned. David, dang it. That was excellent. So there's marketing. Okay, so you've done your marketing, and now you've got a lead, a potential contact.
Yeah, you want a way to reach out to folks. So what have you done that's actually allowed you to get their phone number or email so that you could contact them in the future? And that's where you can begin actually trying to sell them, right? A lot of tools, like we mentioned, Truckpedia is out there. There are more complex tools like Salesforce and HubSpot, and depending on the size of your business, you might want to use those. But as we know, like 90% of the carriers out there are 6 trucks or less. So I can't imagine tools like Salesforce or HubSpot being really useful. And I'd be curious to know if there are any other resources out there that like I'm not as familiar with the automotive CRMs in the space, but I haven't heard anything compelling, at least for me, in terms of like tools that are dominating the automotive hauling space for CRMs.
So I just put in the live chat, because I said I would do it. You got Salesforce, HubSpot, and then I put ProABD. That is Superflow Systems CRM, because you said, I mean, like we actually, back in the day, we used this thing called Pipedrive.
Yeah, that's another common one. Yeah.
Does that still exist? It's pretty primitive, but it works.
I believe they're still around. Yeah. I'd imagine like a lot of these generic solutions would work. I don't know if any are specifically tailored for automotive, if there's any use case that makes it, a viable solution or alternative.
Well, so, because basically, and this is the thing, is that, let's say, if you get 5 leads, sure. Give me a pen, piece of paper, I can bouncing down the road. I can do this.
Right.
But what you want is, you want your marketing to get so good that you're getting like a new lead a day or 5 a day, to where now you want a simple standardized system where you still have first name, last name, company name, phone number, email address, and no matter which contact, you can easily go through your digital Rolodex and now begin to bring them into your sales funnel, which this guy needs a callback, this guy's ready to go, this guy needs a demo, now his wife wants a demo.
Right.
Yeah.
And not to mention the customer's support aspect of it, because even if you do, like, let's say you do land somebody, right? You have a new customer or someone that you're working with, you still want to maintain that relationship and grow it from there, right? And I always think about it, how do you turn existing customers into loyal fans? And a lot of that is on the, post, once they're already a customer, how do you make sure they're happy? And there are a lot of tools in CRMs that allow you to do that in terms of like email nurturing, chat bots, or things that can help make the customer experience better. But that is also something to consider because as you're growing your customer base, you're going to have more work. You're going to need more automation to fulfill the services. And I understand. I feel for a lot of the owners of these companies because I imagine as you're scaling, you hit this point where it's like, I'm doing all the work, and if I never focus on these things, I'll never grow. But I know I have to focus on these things. I just don't have time. And I've seen that struggle several, on multiple occasions. And so like, how do you, this term gets thrown around a lot, but like it's the working in your business versus working on your business. So if you're spending 90% of your time actually doing the delivery or, driving from point A to B, but you spend only 10% on marketing and sales, you're gonna hit a ceiling. So how do you position yourself to spend more time and effort on that so that you can actually like step away and grow your company?
You just reminded me there's a software where you can record yourself talking. It's easy to hit record and stop
Mhm.
and share that. Do you know the name of that program?
I'm not sure. No, I can't say I'm familiar with that.
Oh man, I hope I think of it. I hope somebody please put it in the live chat. It's not YouTube, obviously. It's not Zoom. Oh, I can't think of the name of it. It's like Limbo or something like that. And so what you're doing is it's an easy way to a driver could record a video. Hey, this is me. I'm at my truck. This is my truck. This is my
Mm-hmm.
gear. This is my rig. I want to haul
Hmm.
for you. This is what I load. This is where I go. Give me a call. Here's my number. And record that. And now you don't have to do that video every time. If you recorded it and you can save that and send that. Oh, I want to
Oh,
think.
I think is it Loom?
Loom. It is
Yeah, yeah,
Loom.
yeah. It's okay.
Loom.
Yeah, I've seen
Oh
that.
my
Yeah, yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Now, I don't use Loom because I like to talk. Right? I don't need a recording because then that would just be irritating. Um,
I think it's a useful tool though.
no, Loom's amazing. Yeah, go
It's
check it out. Yeah.
it's tricky because with a lot of, I'm sure your inbox, just like mine, like most of the people on LinkedIn, I get these templated emails or templated messages that drive me crazy. I do like Loom because if I want to reach out to someone, I can send a hyper personalized message and kind of introduce myself, introduce why I think they're interesting and why I'd like to connect. And it's definitely a useful tool, for people to use in terms of marketing and outbound or outreach to people that they like to work with or network with or partner with.
Well, what's I think fascinating, and I don't think there's a lot of people listening now. I think we'll get many on-demand viewers and listeners. So for an owner operator in logistics, I don't think it's actually that hard to stand out because every owner operators in logistics are so dang busy, they don't have time to do this. So if you can find a way to use some of these ideas, grow some marketing, get your hands on what we need some more recommendations of simple CRM systems for owner operators.
Yeah, I mean, the one I'm most familiar with, obviously, is Justin Truckpedia. I think in his journey as he grew his father's company from just a few trucks to, I believe it was like 20 or 25 trucks, there's certain points where you actually will need these tools if you want to scale. Otherwise, you're going to plateau. And I think, for this conversation, from what I remember, it was around 3 to 5 trucks. You want to start building those relationships outside of the low boards. And that's where you're starting to talk about CRMs and those types of tools, right? Before you can hop
That's
around
fair.
from low board, but at about 3 to 5, like it seems like that was his recommendation on when you should start considering those systems.
You're right. And I want to say this too is that there will be somebody. There will be an owner operator car hauler that lives off the load boards and is happy, content, has a solid business. There's an exception to every rule. There always will be. But that is not the norm.
Right.
And when you
Right.
said hand to mouth, there is a guy right now in a parking lot living off load boards that knows that it's hand to mouth. This is not the business that they thought they were building.
Yeah, and it happens across industries. I mean, if you probably see it in creative industries where let's say you design websites and you're an amazing website designer, but you don't invest any time and effort in sales and marketing. I mean, you're going to hit a similar plateau just in a different industry. I could name probably a half dozen other folks in other industries that have the same issue. Um, and it is something people have to figure out. It's like, oh, it's great. I have a company now, but I kind of just gave myself a job. I'm not really like a business owner. And I think that's a unfortunate place people find themselves in.
We'll touch upon TMS for a minute. Ben, do me a favor, hang on for another, say, 10 plus minutes. The clock is moving so quickly. David, the clock is moving so quickly.
We're
It's
40 minutes
crazy.
in. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about TMS for a second because that's
Sure.
the one everybody knows,
Right.
right? TMS, move a car, I'd say buckets, dispatching buckets, picked up, delivered, archived, paid, right? All that stuff.
Yeah,
Everybody knows
this
TMS.
is this is a pretty simplistic, example. There are a lot of solutions and features, and you're looking at things like route planning, how you manage your carriers. Maybe there's some auditing or payment functionality that are in these tools. But I think for your audience and most of the folks watching, like everyone's, understands what's happening. The main thing I wanted to illustrate though was when you do have a customer that needs a transportation move or has some sort of transportation request, that's the handoff and from the CRM or whatever tool you're using. Could be an email, could be a text message, however you get business. But that's where the customer relationship aspect ends and the transportation management begins.
So, and this is where I think you were talking about tech stack. Now, I've heard tech stack. Please define tech stack.
Well, there's a couple of ways you could define. I probably wouldn't use it for this particular illustration. Like a tech stack is usually the different technologies and tools that go together to create an application. So like the languages that you might be using, the different programming languages or database languages that you're using. But for me, this is something I've been thinking about, and I just wanted to put it out there because these are a lot of commonly referenced features when comparing, one technology to another. And so the features here aren't as important. And, I did list, if you zoom in a little bit, the AI buzzwords to me, that's kind of like the kale of the tech world. Like everyone's talking about it, but I don't know what it tastes like. And I think that there's more that meets the eye here, where when you're comparing these features side by side, it might be an easy decision to make. But what I would love to know and love to get your thoughts on as well, is of those top 20 that you showed, where are they making those future investments so that they can attract more shippers and more carriers? Because I feel like with the huge investment that Cox Automotive made in their platform, they have existing relationships and they have a lot of loads. So if you go to the next one, Jay, um, I'm curious how people would view this if, in the example on the left, if you have all the bells and whistles, but you don't have enough loads or carriers, do you go with that platform versus going with, let's call it a mid-tier platform where they have more loads and more carriers, but fewer features? Or do you go somewhere where there's a lot of loads and a lot of carriers, but fewer features? And I would love to know anyone, that's listening in the live chat, like what people think about it, because this is something I'm curious to know how people are making these decisions and how the software companies out there are thinking about positioning themselves to attract more on the supply and demand side.
So, you've asked a good question there. And I'm trying to think of the answer in a nutshell, because all right, I mentioned third rails. Here we go. I would imagine that central dispatch goes in the right column. More loads, more carriers, less features, which is why, probably part of the reason why, as there's been more tech companies in the past 5 years that have more features but less loads and less carriers. However, those less load, less carrier tech solutions gain more market share each year. So now, if you read the chart right, eventually those smaller tech companies are going to catch up. And I think what's also interesting here is that when you look at the evolution of business, you can see through the decades, the behemoth of the time is not the leader today.
Right.
It's weird
Absolutely,
how that happened, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
weird?
Yeah.
Atari, IBM, Apple, now Tesla's here, Microsoft. Anyways, yeah, take it away. Yeah.
No, I just think, for at least for, the brokers and carriers watching, I just think it's important to evaluate that because I see it either as you end up platform hopping until you find the work or the right combination, or you're having like a mixed bag of apps, which creates, or technologies, which could create like an inconsistent experience and a lot of work on the back end trying to bring information in from one app and PODs over here, and then I've got inspections over here, and so I could see that being really frustrating for the people that are managing those businesses.
So, perfect time to let's go back and remind ourselves to go back to the vroom conversation,
Mhm.
trying to perform different functions at a high level.
Yeah.
You at some point can understand if a company says, "Listen, we're only using our tech on this move. We're not trying to ingest all these other techs. We got too many moving parts. We can't do it.
Hmm.
We don't want to,
Hmm.
lose track because we got to serve our customer." I will say, and I didn't bring up the top 20. I can if you want me to. I think it's cool that we now have a top 20. That's brand new.
That's great. Yeah.
That's never happened before. I know I'm patting myself on the back, but it has never happened before. No one's ever created a top 20. Actually, we were able to solidify it on the show last week. Going into live airtime, we had 18, maybe 19. And the reason we got to 20 is because now it is like football teams or something. We're finding that carriers have their preferences, and there seems to be many different flavors. That I didn't really expect.
Having interviewed 40 to 50 carriers in the last 2 or 3 years, you realize everybody's doing it completely differently. There's no one standard way of doing things. I think it creates a tremendous opportunity. It's also, it is a huge challenge, but also a tremendous opportunity. So, I'll leave it up to the software companies and technology companies to duke it out. I just think this is, hopefully this is helpful for the people watching and understanding, the different features, how to evaluate it, and then understanding how it fits into your business and your operations. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here trying to help.
Perfect time to, we're now going to bring in, please do help me wish a very warm welcome to my next guest. We're going to keep David with us, and we're going to bring in Ben Okuka. Now, this is, I want to say, well, I saw Ben live at a trade show, but I think this is his first time, and this is cool. Here comes Ben. He's getting ready. Is that I explained to Ben about a week or two ago that ATI has changed a lot in the past few years. I think some people know that, not everybody does. But welcome to the transformation. Ben, can you see us and hear us?
I can see and hear you. How are you?
Good. We can see
Good to see
you,
you,
we
Jay.
can hear you. Hey, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show. It's good to see you again. It's been about a year. Last we were, I think, in North Carolina at the Auto Summit. That's where we met. So it's good seeing you again. And David, I didn't know we share so many the last few years in common in terms of Vroom.
Oh,
We may
really?
get to talk about that shortly. Here, but-
Awesome. I didn't know that. That's awesome. By the way, Keith Bradley can't make it. His flight was delayed. He's in the air right now, so it's just us. So Ben and David, you're just meeting each other. Are you meeting each other for the first time right now?
Yes, this is the first time I've met Ben.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
is awesome. All
I
right,
think we
Ben,
connected a couple of days ago on LinkedIn, but other than
okay,
that,
yeah.
this is the
perfect.
first time we're talking.
So, Ben, did you see what we were just talking about with CRM and
Absolutely.
TMS? Do you have anything to
Great
add?
conversation.
And it really was a good conversation. Is there anything you want to add or insight or questions?
I mean, I think David made this point about how much time you actually spend doing the work and, you know, marketing and doing all the back end activities, bringing in customers and managing customers and building the business. Um, if you're on the road all the time, you're probably plateauing out. So, how can technology help you market yourself, bring customers, service them, and expand your business, enabling you to do more and probably, build a bigger business than just a single driver or a single truck? So I thought that was an interesting point that most probably, solo entrepreneurs start out not really thinking a lot about, but investing in the right processes and technologies that will enable you to expand beyond the amount of time that you could put in the business, I think is a crucial factor up front as you get into business. Because ultimately you want to expand and grow your business and not just be a solo entrepreneur managing, a single truck or running a single truck.
And Ben, you have a background in retail, and you also, I think, you have a passion for entrepreneurism. Why don't you take the podium for a second and tell us a little bit more about what you? I said to David, talk about what you think and talk about, and why you do that.
So I've been in technology, specifically auto tech, for almost 20 years now, on and off since 2004. Cut my teeth at Ford twice, mostly on the marketing end, working on Ford websites. And over the last 10 years, I moved into product leadership, which is if you have a three-legged stool of technology and designers and the business, product is sitting right in the middle of that three-legged stool and helping to orchestrate priorities. What should tech work on? How do we design it? Is it the right design? More importantly, is it the right problem for us to solve for our customers? So I, over the last decade or so, spent a lot of time really focusing on digital retailing or selling cars online, both from an OEM perspective as well as a dealer focused perspective. And as of late, I was focused more on the service side of the business, helping customers, helping dealers manage phone calls and automate it so that they can actually spend time servicing the vehicle instead of answering phone calls. Um, so that's largely my background. A lot of auto tech. I started in software, but for the last decade, really auto tech and helping businesses prioritize where to invest so that we could solve meaningful problems for dealers and OEMs.
David, any of that apply to the way you think and what you think about?
Yeah, I have a pretty similar background. I mean, that's the three-legged stool metaphor fits perfectly. Most of my career has been working with designers, developers, and business teams to figure out solutions to solve either business problems or customer problems. So, kind of going back to my time at Vroom, a lot of the people that the executive team that I was reporting up to was a lot of the supply chain and logistics folks. And they basically say, here's our problem. And then you work with, the best and the brightest, engineers in your team to deliver solutions that meet those needs. And then you rinse and repeat. It's a lot of fun. I think there are a lot of fun challenges in our industry to solve. And yeah, I totally agree with Ben.
All right, we haven't talked about AI yet. Anybody
Oh
have
yeah,
anything to say about AI? Right, we didn't talk
the
about AI.
AI buzzwords. Yeah.
Right.
Where could we
Dave,
start? Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
David mentioned this a few minutes ago, right? AI is being just thrown around everywhere. The buzzwords, it's lost its meaning. Um, it coming from an AI company and kind of following what's happening in the industry. I think businesses, especially small businesses, should really think about their problems first and think how technology can help them solve their sets of problems. Is it AI? Great, leverage it. But just throwing AI as the ultimate solution for everything isn't the answer for small businesses. Yes, we hear, Microsoft, Google, Meta throwing billions and billions, and over the next decade, it'll be into trillions. If you're not careful, that's because they're really working on some really hard problems and they're moving towards general artificial intelligence. That's decades away, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth. But for the small business owner, small business, there's a slew of technology, including AI, that can be deployed to solve our problems. And we just need to be very clear about what that problem is so that you can apply the right technology.
All right, I got it. I'm going to put ChatGPT in the live chat. Now, at this point, ChatGPT should be pretty well known like a Grammarly, right? But there are going to be people that are like, yeah, I don't use it. I don't even know what you said, right? And if you type in ChatGPT, you get what? ChatGPT.openai, whatever.
Right, yeah.
The problem that I see ChatGPT solve is time. Marketing takes time. But you can type anything, kind of, into ChatGPT and it will save you time. You can type in, I now do research. I can do basic research with ChatGPT. Now, I shouldn't rely on just ChatGPT, right? We can all agree. That's like doing a book report from Wikipedia. But Wikipedia's got a lot of information. And so does ChatGPT, which is probably getting information from Wikipedia. But so, for example, I can say, tell me more about auto retail and auto logistics technology. I can type that into ChatGPT, and I can even tell it, give me a 500-word paragraph. Give me 5 topics with bullet points. That thing is crazy. And no matter what you ask it, it's going to save you time.
Yeah, I think there's still it's a little bit similar to marketing. It's still a little bit of an art and a science because even when I ask it certain questions, the output might, like if I'm creating marketing material using ChatGPT to connect these two ideas, sometimes it's so generic that I think like nobody would ever respond to this. And I've noticed it a lot. Maybe it's just my LinkedIn feed. Don't judge me. But I see a lot of these posts where I'm like, that's clearly ChatGPT. Like, come on. Could you at least add something to it that's,
How did
yeah.
you know? And by the way, I see rewrite post in AI. I don't use it because I
Hmm.
kind of write stuff.
Yeah.
What tips you off? How do you know? What are the tells?
For me, I feel like if it's too generic, um, if it kind of has like an outline structure that reads like a essay where there's usually like a maybe I don't know. It's more of a feel. I can't quite articulate. I think it's just there's some level of vagueness to it that I feel like I could click on a Google search, ask a question about marketing, and the first blog is kind of the same output. It's not a creative thought. It's not an individual or a new thought. It's kind of just putting, saying, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but there's some response I feel like viscerally where I'm like, oh God, another ChatGPT LinkedIn
This
post.
was written by AI.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
David's right. I mean, to I think maximize ChatGPT, you have to get really you have to be really great at prompting it properly. And I think most people aren't very good at prompting ChatGPT, myself among them, right? Hence, you have courses even on how to properly prompt ChatGPT to bring it to life. But if we take a step back, right, what is ChatGPT? It's a large language model with a very large corpus. It has consumed a lot of the knowledge on the internet, and in its most basic form, right? And you know, it is repeating or cobbling up words in the order that it deems fit based on the prompt that you gave it. So it's not necessarily creating new knowledge or insight. It is parroting back, paraphrasing known content. So hence the issue of, is this really insightful? Is it applicable to my business? Is this an intelligent point? You can get it out of it, but not all the time. So depending on how you prompt it. Now, the models are getting better every year, right? Last year's model to this year's 4.0 release, dramatic difference. But at the end of the day, I think you've hit it on the head, Jay, which is ChatGPT is a great time saver. Because if you want to jumpstart thinking ideas, ChatGPT can do that for you in a sec. If you want it to, look at different patterns and look at different models that you would otherwise take a lot of time to create yourself, it can do that for you. And that's a great starting point. That saves you, probably 20 hours of research down to, seconds. Now you can really take that output and now apply your own intelligence, understanding of your business problem, understanding of your market, understanding your customers, and refine that content. And by the way, it still hallucinates sometimes, right? So that's why you got to take it with a great giant, rock of salt, if you will.
So I totally agree with that statement, though, is that as a, oh man, I'm going to get in trouble here. As a lifelong creator, okay, there I said it. I've been creating my whole life. That's what I do. And I see a pattern with a lot of people. I think most people. They get kind of stuck in the creative process. They either start editing before they have anything, or they naysay, go negative, nah, no. And the brainstorming process is, I like it. And, I don't put a lot of filters on a brain. In fact, I say you can't edit anything while brainstorming. You can't. You will kill an idea before it ever happens. So ChatGPT, I think, helps folks that kill ideas. They get so much output, they can't kill it. And now they have somewhere to start from. Because it seems to be getting started. Starting a fire, catching that first spark is the hardest part. Anyways, all right, that's my ChatGPT. Here's what I want to know. What program should I use to create images using AI? I have not been able to figure this out. I don't know. I can't draw. I can't Photoshop. I can barely screen capture. Anybody watching the news knows that. So I don't know how to create images. Is there an AI program? Is there a free AI program I can try? That's what I can't find.
No, there are a few out there, including ChatGPT, at least through Microsoft Copilot. Now,
Really?
that's something that I've used personally, but the images aren't that great. What I've seen, other companies such as Canva allows you to use AI generated images, right? And Canva is a very accessible platform, I think, to the community that we're talking to right now. As a matter of fact, I think you can create some, uh, you could do some creative work free, and the subscription fee is reasonable. But I think what's happening, right? If we take a step back, there is AI for words, right? Just creating content. There's AI for the music, subscription for sound. There's AI for images. There's AI for pretty much any type of content out there at this point. What's happening though is at different levels, right? At the Microsofts and the Googles and the Amazons of the world, they're working on the intelligence, right? The intelligence pieces of what we generally refer to as artificial intelligence. They're investing billions and billions of dollars into that. There's a middle tier set of developers that are focusing on vertical problems, right? So if you want creative AI solutions, you're probably going to look at, Adobe, Figma, Canva, et cetera, et cetera. There are verticals for sales. There are verticals for customer service. Every single vertical is getting an AI solution. It's just a new thing that's happening, and that's just the case. And then there's the third layer of AI being infused into your existing apps. And the most common and most accessible product to everybody here would be Microsoft, the Microsoft platform, right? Now you've got Microsoft Copilot assisting you in creating a good PowerPoint slide or rewriting your essay or whatever that is. So give it another year or two. It's going to be so prevalent that it's going to be second nature, that you pull an app and it's got an AI embedded in it somehow.
So thank you, Ben, because I started thinking, what about an AI assist in a CRM for an owner operator that could build and manage sales funnels without having to concentrate on it?
I think you're going to see a lot of those features coming out. I mean, we talked about this a few months ago on the show, but a lot of those co-pilots, where it could be on the CRM side, it could be on the TMS side, where I don't know, if you're planning a route, AI could assist you in doing that. It's kind of the Iron Man suit, if you will, that you put on, and instead of managing 5 trucks as a dispatcher, now I can manage 25 because I'm super powered with routing assistance or ETA update assistance, and all these little workflows, as Ben mentioned, we'll slowly be able to hand over to artificial intelligence. And again, I'm not the AI expert. I just understand it as a technology and how it can be used to make our lives easier. What's going under the hood, I have way less interest in. But I do see the use cases when, if you're thinking about dispatch workflows, suggesting drivers, or if you need a way to predict ETA delays, and you can figure out, okay, based on some set of data, my truck probably won't make it to the dealership before they close. Yeah, I think anything in that chatbot customer relationship space, where any inquiries that come in, maybe there's a invoice request or something that could be handed off to a bot to go run with it. I think those examples are more concrete for me, because I understand, at least hopefully it helps the audience understand like where it might show up. Because I think a lot of the concern is like, you're saying AI, but what are you trying to take my job, or what am I going to do? What do I do with this tool? And so hopefully those examples help kind of illustrate, where AI can fit in your workflow and your day to day.
The job displacement always comes front and center. And here's a bucket of cold water. It's already happened. If you spend enough time on LinkedIn, you will see people that no longer work somewhere.
Hmm.
This is common now. And there's could be any kinds of reasons why. It doesn't matter. One of the things I was sitting there thinking when I was on the show last week with Mark was, just as we get to this point where we've got all these great load boards, guess what? We shouldn't need to be able to search load boards anymore. Loads should be coming in that apply to us. Why are we reading and calling? Right? Now that's fine. I'm not trying to, get weird. But that is going to happen. So when does that happen, and how do we work towards it?
I would assume a lot of these companies are figuring out ways to incorporate it. I don't know where it would be on their roadmap in terms of, prioritizing that functionality, um, or if the underlying models that they're using for artificial intelligence are, providing the responses or the um, stability that they're looking for in terms of how they're using it. Is it consistent enough yet? Is it 60% accurate, or is it closer to like 90, 95? And what can I live with
All right.
in terms of my own business? I saw an article on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago about someone that was using AI to create quotes for their customers. I'll have to look that up, and I'll have to send it to you, Jay.
Oh yeah, that sounds like
Um,
industry news.
but you could, I mean, if it pulls the wrong information and you quote at a loss, you just scaled your losses if those orders are accepted, right? So it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. So I guess just depending on the use case and depending on how consistent it is in its response, I think that's what's going to determine when we start seeing these show up in the various tools and systems that we're using.
All right, so let's move in the ecosystem. Ben, how about in retail and with dealers? A Let's go to service. Nobody's sitting waiting for the call. It just gets routed when it comes in, right?
That's right. I remember your colleague Ty grabbing me at the Auto Summit and saying we need this in the logistics world, right? And at the time I was with Stella that provides AI for the auto dealership industry, specifically focused on service. So it's here. There are, dozens of companies in the space that have been investing in AI to automate and help dealers solve mundane tasks, and give back time to service advisors and enable them to spend time with their customers. So if you're calling into a dealership wanting to schedule your service appointment, that is a solved problem, right? Maybe not everybody's adopted it, but there are, at least a dozen companies out there that provide solutions, AI solutions to the dealership community. Same with the sales side of the house. There's at least half a dozen companies that are focusing and providing solutions to enable you to book a service appointment. I'm sorry, to book a test drive, to book a sales appointment, to automate your credit application, and get templatized auto responses back to your inquiries about, is this vehicle still available? How much does this vehicle cost, or what are the incentives on this vehicle? These solutions are in the works and are being developed by at least half a dozen different companies, and what I call the whales in the auto industries, right? Your Reynolds and Cox Automotives, they're investing in this, right? Everybody knows that they leverage AI to strengthen their products and to deliver, really great solutions to the dealer community. So it's here. I spent 2022 through early this year focusing on building, exactly this for the dealer community.
Right. So we go back to logistics and we say, so I don't need the load board to be replaced now. I don't need that. I'm just talking about inevitability. Because at some point in the past, a service manager said, or somebody in the BDC, Ben, you can help me get it right. Somebody said, this is going to get automated. We don't need to answer the phone every time. We're doing repetitive tasks. Searching a load board is a repetitive task with nuances. And repetitive tasks are ripe for
Automation.
automation. I can't get my... And ding. There we go. And that's why the frac sand in the Permian Basin in Texas is now being hauled by autonomous trucks. And if they were going to replace the driver, they were going to do it one way or another. And maybe the driver's still in the truck. I don't know. And I also point that out because you do want to find out now instead of when you show up to move the next load of frac sand and they say, thanks, we're good. It's better to know now. So don't make a YouTube video about getting rich hauling frac sand. Okay. So, yeah, Ben.
It was interesting seeing that note, right? Regardless of how you think or feel about Tesla, right? They're investing heavily in autonomous vehicles, and their trucks, right, are being automated so that you could move between really well-defined points, and this is happening already, autonomously. So there is disruption coming to this industry. If we circle back to the conversation we had, you and David had maybe about 40 minutes ago now, about why are you in business, right? What is your differentiating factor about your business? That's something that every business owner needs to think about, because if it's generic, if it's not differentiated, and the customer can't identify why, you will be disrupted.
I made a bookmark on differentiation. So this just came in. I saw this while I was getting ready for the show. This is news tonight, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Alphabet to invest $5 billion in self-driving car unit Waymo. Now, Waymo has been testing in Phoenix and other select markets, I believe. And
For at least a decade now.
Okay, right. It's been quite a while, and it's been very successful, is my understanding. I know, like, and by the way, you said Tesla. Wow, Tesla is fascinating. It is the company everybody loves to hate, but can't stop talking about. And it's changed the way automakers look at the cars they're building, which I've seen the headline, interestingly enough, product, the three-legged stool of tech design and business, is that now the auto manufacturer product teams are they have too many problems to solve, and it's making it much harder for them to figure out what to develop and build and work on and cancel. And yeah, there's so much happening right now.
Yeah, I haven't followed I didn't realize that many people didn't like Tesla. I'm a huge Tesla fan. But yeah, that's interesting. Like I don't know.
I'll expand. People
Yeah.
bag on Elon all the time.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, all the time. And yet, they bag on him and then celebrate. He is got to be he's living a weird life, but he's living it. Right, from flamethrowers to the boring tunnel to SpaceX and Twitter, and then he smokes a blunt with Joe Rogan and he brings a sink into the lobby. I mean, it's just wild, this guy. It's wild.
He's definitely unique, and we don't have a lot of him in the world. I don't know any other CEO that has five, billion-dollar companies run at the same time. So there's something special about him. Um, and the reason why we can't stop talking about Elon and his products is because they're all disruptive, right? He's reimagining what business should be all the time, and it took a while for the Tesla dream or vision to come to fruition. It is here, right? It was so impactful that the big three and traditional OEMs dove into EVs, and had to learn really how to compete with Tesla. And Tesla is also maturing into a traditional auto company. If we just focus on one of his companies, right, Elon's companies, they're now becoming a lot more. I think with every passing quarter, they're just starting to behave a little bit more like your traditional OEMs. But that's just the nature of beast, or of the business, I should say, because it's a competitive market. Now they've got competitors in the space, but they're still far and away the market leaders in EV, and will continue to push the boundaries. And automation is now the name of the game. Autonomous vehicles is the name of the game, or at least that's what Elon is pushing. And so everybody's going to follow the leader of the pack.
I want to find the link to this video of an autonomous vehicle driving 1 hour. I watched the whole video. An autonomous vehicle, and it's sped up like 5-6 times normal speed, driving through Palo Alto into San Francisco. And it's a 1 hour continuous video set to like techno music, so it's awesome. And it takes like 16 minutes or whatever, 14 minutes to watch the whole video. And I mean, it's impressive watching the car drive itself. And you get to watch this. The guy that shot it did a great job. You get to watch the screen and that's also impressive technology. The way that the Tesla display shows the vehicle navigating through traffic, and the way it changes view based on if it's in stop and go, then it's kind of more
zoomed in, focused,
like eye to asphalt level. But if you're in faster moving traffic, it actually zooms up and out so you can see the cars around, and it makes you feel more comfortable with what it's. Whoever designed that had their head screwed on, because we need different perspectives based on what's happening, and the display actually knows how to make you feel comfortable as the rider, and the wheels moving. And here's this is what blew my mind, is then the thing started driving like a human. Like, okay, one lane was really backed up. No, Tesla's going to take the faster way and then find the way to merge over when it makes sense, just like a human being would. I mean, it's impressive. Like, wow.
We are living in the future.
And so, if we apply that level of AI to then what's happening, again, instead of me searching a load board, yeah, and we go to gamification and these kind of cool, where it's more almost entertaining rather than stodgy work, and loads start popping up on my phone. I'm like, yeah, I can make that. That one's making money. Wow. Can that happen in 5 years? Maybe. 2030? Yeah.
I think it's happening for the big guys, right? Your big truckers. So Brad Jacobs, CEO and chairman of XPO, and he has a bunch of these XPO companies. He's investing billions of dollars in this space, and he's built XPO. I think there's now QXO. He's got a bunch of these XO companies, but he's investing in precisely this problem. But it's a closed wall to differentiate himself from his competitors. So he's building, talking about tech stack, tech stack from the ground up, end-to-end technology to differentiate and put XPO and all his XO companies in a very competitive uh, spot, building a moat to grow his business. Surely I think over the next 5 years, we talked about this last year, Jay, right? When are all these AI solutions coming into the logistics and carrier world? I think there's an opportunity there. One of the challenges of this industry, it's just so fragmented, right? You have thousands and thousands of small businesses, and the cost to invest and build a product, a modern. I thought auto was, maybe a legacy in terms of keeping up with new technology. There are other parts of the economy that are still even further laggards. But certainly, surely, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, there'll be investments in this space because of people like Brad Jacobs.
Yeah, good to know. That's really interesting. We're gonna land the plane here soon. Differentiation. Expand on that. What else can we say about differentiation?
I guess just kind of building on the point Ben just made, you're going to see these investments in AI and these different technologies across the different platforms that are out there. So it almost feels like there's this kind of arms race, right? Like is it a winner take all scenario? Is it gonna create an environment where all of the available platforms are equally as enjoyable by the carriers and brokers that might be using them? Or is there going to be kind of this winner take all where the person with the most, the best AI or the best tool takes the majority of go again, back to my earlier point, has the majority of the loads and the majority of the volume? I'd be curious to see how people start to make those decisions when they're saying, okay, this is an amazing AI feature and this is great, but I can only get 20% of my revenues on your platform. So I have to go somewhere else. And I think this is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
I think the AI race is an arms race. And I don't think there's any mistake to be made about it. And I think any company that's investing and working on it sees it that way every day. So, yeah.
The other thing I think, talking maybe not specifically about differentiation, but and I'm not an expert in the carrier world by any chance, but if it's analogous or similar to the dealer space, where there are dozens and dozens of tools solving very specific point problems, I think differentiation comes with providers that can really deliver a cohesive end-to-end solution for carriers and allow them to conduct their business on one single platform instead of, cobbling together a series of half a dozen to a dozen different tools, which first of all is just costly because you're investing in so many different applications and subscriptions, but at the same time, it's, challenging to master those tools and to really be efficient and effective in, moving your business through all those tools. So the opportunity is for those companies that are going to build SaaS solutions or applications or solutions that are end-to-end, tailored for these small businesses that just need a platform that just works so that they could focus on running their business and not managing tools and cobbling tools together. I mean, hopefully over the next 2 or 3 years, pen and paper becomes a thing of the past in this industry.
Except for when Crowdstrike happens.
or CDK.
Then you have exactly, or CD. Then you have that emergency wall kit that has like whiteboards and pencils. Might sell.
That's right.
Yeah. I think there are, I don't know how many dealer solutions there are. I don't know how much freight tech there is. Everywhere you look, I think this is one of the issues. There's so much tech. Somebody's building a new mobile app right now. And I was thinking, if you're going to build a new mobile app, work on, just don't wait for the stage where that thing like automatically sends loads to a carrier. Build that app. Autosendload.com. There you go. Autosendload. You can have it. Just do it. Use ChatGPT to expand the idea.
You're a product manager by yourself, Jay, because that you just pulled an agile principle and a core principle in product management, which is don't bake this thing for 10 years, put it out there, test it, solve a problem, and iterate and grow slowly, right? So I think that's a very important point for people that are building applications and trying to solve customer problems. Don't try to eat the elephant at one go, right? Just bit by bit.
There's something I see that you've got mentor in you. You're a mentor, aren't you, Ben?
I love to coach, mentor. I love to watch learn patterns and see patterns. And over the last decade, I've seen patterns. And this is why I started Startwell, right? To be there as an additional support for folks that are entering the space or want to build something new. Without some form of guidance, building applications, building software is a tough business because things move so fast. You could have this brilliant idea, you build it today, and tomorrow it's obsolete.
Yeah. Or David, you are on the path and then something happens. And I will say, I learned from a past mentor that when you're on your product journey, you will find a time when you must pivot. And if you fail to pivot, and by the way, you can't just willy-nilly pivot. The pivot is based on some principles of necessity. That your original assumption of the problem you thought you were solving isn't actually solving either the problem you thought you were solving, or you come to find maybe you're solving a different problem, and thus you need to pivot. But that product journey, right, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I used to talk a lot about drivers apps and seeing all these driver apps pop up on the scene. And then I found myself like writing proposals to go build driver apps for companies and saying like, hey, this, and I realized like, oh no, you're kind of part of the problem. So um, yeah, for me, that was one big pivot that I made where I realized I didn't feel like it was adding anything new. It was just kind of another, Me Too application to put in the space. But it wasn't really solving something I care about a lot, which is like the communication problem. And, having seen patterns in the different layers of communication between the dealer, the broker, the dispatcher, the driver, as Skip always called, that the long game of telephone. That's something that's always interested me. And building driver applications didn't seem to solve that. So for me, that was a point for reflection and realizing I probably should pivot to something else and either solve a different problem or figure out another way to solve that problem.
And the pivot, and I'm thinking out loud, I'm brainstorming without editing, is that if you're a large company and you find yourself pivoting, this is where a company can publicly experience what looks like a failure. It's just that the pivot, we couldn't pivot fast enough. And we ran out of money or runway or whatever it was, or made too many mistakes. So pivoting is rough. But
Yeah.
can be.
And maybe Ben can speak to this more
Yeah.
than I can because I haven't worked at, companies
That's
as
my
large.
job. My job is to keep
Yeah.
talking, so somebody just like stop. I gotta
Yeah.
say this.
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking, for some of these smaller, scrappy startups, their ability to pivot quickly because they're, nimble, that might allow them to like figure it out where some of the bigger behemoths might say, well, this ship is already going in this direction, or to turn it 100, 180 degrees, it just can't happen as quickly as we'd like. So in this race of differentiation and figuring out what's the next thing to build and how to attract all these folks, I would like to see some of the up and comers and the scrappier, smaller startups, make huge waves in this space.
Yeah, I mean, I think the smaller startups have a number of advantages, certainly over the big guys, right? This they can make decisions quicker, right? Um, Communication is a lot faster, and they have smaller customer bases. And if you still don't have product market fit, you could no one knows you. You don't have brand identity and you don't have legacy customers that you have to worry about. So moving and changing your business model is so much easier. And so the decision is just cold, calculated business decision where am I serving my customers? At least that's the way I think about it. Am I serving my customers? And ultimately, am I generating enough revenue and profit to keep this business going? That's the other part of the pivot, right? Sometimes you may have a brilliant product that solves a real customer problem, but you just don't have the market to sustain the business to in terms of demand for that product. Hence, you got to pivot. So there are numerous reasons for pivoting. Big companies, have bureaucracies, layers of decision making, and it's just a lot harder for them to pivot. But they also have advantage in terms of cash flow and ability to go for a really long time before they have to make pivoting decisions. Hence, you don't see it as often as you would see it at a small company. But if you go back, I want to say 15, 20 years ago, Google Plus is coming to mind. I don't know why, but they had to pivot. They had to shut it down because Facebook just solved the problem so much better. And so today we don't have Google Plus.
Oh,
Google had to pivot after spending billions and billions of dollars.
Microsoft Zune.
iPod did something much better.
Well, I can't believe that just popped in my head. So as an owner operator might say, well, how do I pivot? This sounds great. And what you do is look back on your data and find out what data points to most success. Right? So you're going to have to go down the road a little bit so you can look in the rearview mirror to see where you came from. But if you're an owner operator and you're hauling for customer A and then customer B and C are B and C are just quite matching the profit you're making from A, can you triple A? Get rid of B and C. Go with A.
Yeah, or even
Yeah.
expand on like it is a paid feature, but in ChatGPT there's like a data analytics tool. So sometimes you can input like your past orders and figure out, oh, most of my orders are coming out of Georgia, or maybe they're coming out of another state and they're going to Texas, and maybe you don't realize it, maybe you don't have the analytics background, but it can kind of help you understand where your lanes are. I think a lot of those tools are helpful in that sense, or to figure out where to build relationships and who to target. If you know you're going from Georgia to Texas consistently, maybe you don't market across the continental 48. You actually focus your marketing on Georgia and Texas. So that's one example of how they could use that.
And I think what you just described, David, is coming. It's absolutely coming because with with investments machine learning, these are pretty straightforward problems that could really be solved so that you could tell which are your most efficient, most profitable routes, which customers pay the best, all different vectors of your business. I think these solutions will become available to most owners over the next few years, without having to pull your data, dump it somewhere else. You'd have an industry specific vertical AI with all these analytics built in to make those type of decisions.
Any final thoughts? I think we covered a lot.
When are we starting the company, guys?
Right? I know. This does feel like, I think that's one of the reasons why, like, I just realized I'm like, well, I probably need to end the show at some point. But it does, this feels like a good company meeting, right? That's what this show should be called, a good company meeting.
I think every owner needs to think about their business like this on a quarterly basis, right? Review the performance and check. Do I need to pivot? What tools can I incorporate in my business to make me more efficient? I think that's a takeaway for the audience. But yeah, I mean, there is opportunity in terms of building solutions for the industry. This is a rich target because it's not saturated like marketing tools in auto, where there's at least 2 or 3 dozen marketing solutions out there. I think there's a lot of opportunity to invest in this space and build solutions from the ground up.
And if you find yourself feeling like, because that is the thing, is that you could be, man, I'm such a small fish in a big pond, but at least go ahead, and that's part of the goal of this show, is to inspire somebody to start putting one foot in front of the other in the technology space, even if you feel awkward. Because one day you're going to show up to haul frac sand, and your job has changed. And that's what everyone's biggest fear is anyways. So we see the slogans, address your fears and all that. Address your fears. Get on ChatGPT. Start doing something with tech. Find out how you can at least learn to acclimate to whatever this next chapter is.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. It's David Ray Jr. on LinkedIn. More than happy to help you guys kind of formulate a strategy or anything I can do to help move you in the right direction.
Okay, I'm putting so David Ray Jr. and Ben Okuka. Gentlemen, thank you so much. That was fun. I knew this was going to be great, but I still didn't know how great. This was awesome.
It was great. Thanks for having us, Jay. This was great. Good seeing you too.
Yeah, appreciate you having us, Jay.
Yeah, great job. All right, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the button. Here comes the AI, and that's a cut. Okay. All right. It's always hard to say goodbye, but I got to do it. I got to find a way. You'd think after 350 shows, I had this in a nutshell. Practice deal. I want to thank Murphy Auto Transport Services and Superflow Systems. I want to thank David Ray Jr. I want to thank Ben Okuka. Sorry, Keith Bradley couldn't make it tonight, but Keith, thanks for thinking of us. I also want to say thank you. Some great chat interaction. Michael Rodriguez, Jennifer Blount Sanford, and Mark Grodicke. Of course, shout out Mark Grodicke for a great show last Tuesday night. I do feel like this is probably podcast material. I've learned to also, like, some things are just more podcasty that I'll listen to throughout the day. Last Tuesday night would be part 1. Tonight would be part 2. And that is CRM, TMS, and then pivoting your business. I called it Boost Your Business. You see that right there? Let's go ahead and change that to thanks for watching ATI, because it is hard to know in advance exactly what we're going to talk about. I come pretty close. I would also call this a good company meeting. I would also call it mentorship and pivoting and adopting technology in your business, and also addressing, I'm afraid, I don't know how, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to stay tuned to ATI, because ATI seems like, you know, there's information here. It seems pretty real. We're not really leaving stuff out. We're not splashing Kool-Aid all over each other, or, you know, chants and hoops and whoops and all this. No, man. It's information, it's talk, and it's strategy, and it's business. So if you've got something to say, if you got some news, if you got an idea for a show, send me an email, autotransportintel@gmail.com. Otherwise, here comes the car hauler. No show Tuesday. No, Thursday. No show Thursday, and Tuesday I will be remote. Where will I be? Oh, where will I be? Thank you all so much. Live from Iowa. Take care, everybody. See you soon.